Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Confirmation to Go. This week we're looking at the 7th and 8th commandment. There it is right there, the 7th commandment. Let's dive right into the 7th commandment here. You shall not steal. What does this mean? We should fear and love God so that we do not take our neighbor's money or possessions or get them in any dishonest way, but help him to improve and protect his possessions and income. All right, how are we going to break this down? Well, again, we always have the first commandment right here. And we remember that. The first commandment really just reflects down on each one, right? So this one reflects down on number 7, and we understand that. So then we go into this, and we're back into the pattern of a negative command and a positive command. And the negative and positive of this has 2 parts, which is the 2 lines here. We don't take, nor do we get them in a dishonest way, right? And you're just kind of filling in the rest of this. So we do not take our neighbors, still that important idea of who our neighbor is, money or possessions, or get them in any dishonest way. And then positively, and this is actually kind of fun because this can get a little garbled in your head, but it's always helped me to think of this about IPPI. Improve and protect his possessions and income, IPPI. And I'll tell you what, if they're having a hard time with it, if the echo method is just getting a little stuck, you might just give them that little acronym, and it always helps me remember. I mean, even when I'm doing it now, I'll be like, improvement, you have to say IPPI, that's right. So improve and protect his possessions and income, and it'll rock and roll you right through. Again, the commandments are relatively easy. They're nice and short, and because you can break them down so nicely into these 3 parts, right? The first commandment part, the negative part, and the positive part, working through it is not bad at all. All right, continue plugging away at that. Let's look a little bit at the vocabulary. First, well, what does it mean to steal? I mean, I think we have a good sense of it. We're dealing with possessions. And really what this means is to take another's. We'll use another's, right? Because you can't really steal from yourself. I'm sure that there's a way we could think about that. Another's, there's no apostrophe there, another's property. We'll just take another person's property. Right. And the operative word here is take, right? You don't have permission. It hasn't been given to you or gifted to you. You just have taken that opportunity. And that's echoed, of course, here where we have the word take. It's just a proper way of understanding what it means to steal. Well, what are we not supposed to take? I kind of lumped all these together because I think this is important. Money and possessions and income. This is really the goods God entrusts to us. And the challenge here is that he has given it to this person over here, right? And we don't get to say, "Hey, I don't think God should have given that to you," right? Give it to me instead. That's not appropriate. Because God has entrusted it to them, and maybe they're not using it the way they are supposed to, but we rarely do because we're all sinners, and we trust that God is doing good with the provision that He provides us, and you see this provision come up in lots of other places. I'll just mention the first article of the Creed deals with that, and of course the 4th petition, give us this day our daily bread. All of that is about provision. So we have a commandment about provision. We have an article of the Creed about provision. We have a prayer about provision. That tells us something about, like, God cares about stuff, right? And let us not forget that. And we have this idea of stewardship, right? So you notice that I didn't say the goods we own, because that's not really proper from a biblical perspective. God entrusts us things to us. We know that we don't actually own these things. We are stewards of them. We have been given them by the owner, God, to take care of. And that's a really important way to understand it. And this commandment helps us then. How am I being a good steward of what God has given me? And how can I encourage others to be good stewards is a nice way to think about this commandment. All right. Dishonest. Well, it's not enough that you just take something, right? You could go into Walmart and shoplift or break into someone's house and take their goods, but you can also trick them. So dishonest here is through lying or trickery. Right? And sometimes we kind of let ourselves off the hook on this. Well, if they were dumb enough to fall for what I was doing, right? And people would do all kinds of silly things. People will pretend to be poor who aren't poor and beg for money. That's dishonest. And it certainly makes it harder to get money to the people who need it more directly. Look at that. So we don't excuse ourselves just because we use our smarts to get the property or possession for something instead of just like our strength or our speed, right? And that's why Luther makes this special point up here, right? Or get them in any dishonest way. Because he knows how people's brains think, and they're like, well, is it really stealing if I convince them to give me their money? No, it's not okay. All right. Well, then what are we called to do? We're called to help them to improve and protect. Well, improve simply means to make better. And that's a challenge to us. So we can't even just be content to look at what they have and say, I'm okay with you having that. We actually want them to make it better for them. But again, I think the answer here is becoming better stewards together. Right? We don't say, well, I would do a better job of using that than you would, so you have to give it to me. No, but I was saying, let me help you become a better steward of that. Is really a nice way of understanding this. And so if you know someone who maybe they don't know how to change the oil in their car, right? Maybe you can change the oil in the car for them. Maybe you could teach them how to change the oil in their car. Right? Help them better take care of their automobile. Help people better take care of their property. Their house and their yard and things like that. There's a very broad picture here to be painted, but just be thinking, what can I do to help? And you don't want to be crude about it. You don't want to be mean about it. You don't want to say like, well, you keep you're really bad at mowing your yard, so I'm going to mow it for you. No, just be loving and let them know that you love you, right? That you love them, I should say, because if we don't have love as our motivating factor here, people are gonna get upset, and we know this. And it's some of the reasons why it keeps us from helping people to improve their stuff is because we're like, well, I don't want them to think I'm judging them, and because sometimes we are judging them. I know this, and we get frustrated at people that don't kind of help keep things nice in a communal way, things like that. So. Anyway, but we do want to help people make their lives better and be better stewards of the stuff they have. And then maybe a little bit simpler, but also a challenge too. We can't be content to just let other people rob them or take their stuff from them either. We really do need to protect them. And that means to keep safe in the broadest terms. But, that just means you're keeping an eye on things. And again, there's a fine line here that... you don't want to be a nosy person or you don't want to come across as if you're getting into business that you ought not to be getting into. But the fact of the matter is we have really kind of shrunk away from ourselves. I remember I was visiting somebody and they said we don't do this thing called neighboring. I always thought that was a very nice word. We like to verb nouns in English. And that's part of it, right? Just keep an eye on your people's stuff. And if you see something strange going on, if you know your neighbors, you can actually call them and say, hey, this strange thing is going on. What's going on? If you don't know your neighbors, you're not going to have that opportunity. Maybe the only thing you can do is call the police. And that can be a little embarrassing if nothing actually significant is going on. But I still think you'd rather do that than just do nothing if you're worried about your neighbor's property or their goods or something like that. But this is a challenge for us. If we see a crime happening, if we see somebody shoplifting, if we see somebody stealing, we should care. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to solve it all ourselves, right? There are police, there are ways of handling things. But I tell you what, if we actually took this seriously about protecting each other's stuff, it would be a very good world. And again, we don't want to go overboard. We don't want to meddle where we're unwelcome, but we in love try to make ourselves as welcome as possible to do these things. And again, if you're motivated by love, not by fear or anything like that, then this will work much smoother. When we get nosy in things, those are out of kind of our sinful interests and those kind of things. And of course, that will get messed up. So we don't want that. All right. Well, that's the seventh commandment, God protecting our the good things he's entrusted to us. And we thank him for entrusting good things to us. We are very blessed in this country to have many good things, and we thank him for that. And we want to keep each other's things safe, the things that have been entrusted to us, and we also want to help improve them. All right.